Dancing with my friend. My friend.
Hello and welcome to Welcome Home Radio. The waters in the mortgage industry can be pretty muddy, whether it's investing, leasing, renting, home insurance, or myths and misconceptions. Welcome Home Radio has the answers for you, the consumer. And now, to help you make the right home buying decision for you and your family, here are your hosts.
And welcome to Welcome Home Radio, where real estate, lending, and learning come together. This is your mortgage market update for July 21st. The MBA reported applications for purchases fell 6% last week after a gain of 8% the week prior, 18% lower than year over year. And cash transactions have risen to 25% of all transactions taking place. This is huge. And the refi market has declined by 3% this last week after a 20% gain the week prior and a 20% loss year over year. We should see an increase in refis with the removal of the adverse market fee to lenders. So that should continue to hopefully see better rates for people. Forbearance continues to improve with the amount of loans in forbearance a little over 2 million. This could turn into foreclosures in August through October of this year. That means more homes on the market. In this market that is moving and changing, there's something I wanted to discuss, and I believe all of us have a need to understand and to address this now. And what is the impact of the market and our property taxes here in Texas? Of course, joining us, Tom and Alan, today is David Sims with 10 Talents. David, thank you so much for taking time to join us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
I appreciate it. Hey, really want to get into this. What is going to happen with our property taxes here in Texas? I have a quote here. It says, Texas homeowners will generally see a 10 to 15% increase in property taxes in 2021, while commercial property owners will pay 5 to 10% less compared to 2020. Home prices in January 21 are up 10 to 15% in most metro areas. With this shift and with COVID and with the shift of working home, do we see a change that we need to understand? What is that going to do across the board for every homeowner? Do you have an idea? Can you give us some insight?
Man, if I had any good insight, that would probably be down in Austin. But it is interesting that is becoming one of the largest issues for new candidates. Huffines was saying his goal was to eliminate property taxes here in Texas. And
that's not really possible, is it? That's not. There's no way that can happen.
Well, so if you take a look at the numbers, you're basically seeing, Texas collects $250 billion of taxes a year off 60 different taxes and assessments and fees. Of that, property taxes, I think it was like 2019, 2020, were roughly a little over $60 billion. The sales tax that we do in Texas, which is, we have a fairly high sales tax compared to everywhere else, is projected roughly around $2.8 to $3 million a month. So, I don't think they'll find any way to ever be able to eliminate property taxes, because for that to happen, you would have to triple our current sales tax to about 25% to cover up for the property taxes. and all you're going to do is kill consumption, which is going to generate less taxes.
Can I ask a question? Because I want to clarify this just as a basic homeowner myself. If I understand correctly, property taxes by a residential, not commercial, but residential owner, those only go to the city level and local metropolitan areas, not to the state level taxes. Is that correct?
So
That's a great question.
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Okay. My understanding, and I want to clarify this, is that our official tax records it only goes to local municipalities and cities. It does not go to the state level. The commercial property tax, as well as any state income tax sorts that is on purchases, goes to the state level. Am I correct in that, or am I incorrect?
It's a great question. My first thought is that makes sense from what you're saying because of how you're being assessed on your taxes. However, the other thing that pops in my mind is, the Robin Hood Act, where they were taking money from rich districts and passing it to different parts of the state.
That was school districts only.
School districts, right? Exactly. So my thought is that part of your money probably gets redistributed some way. But that's actually a great question. I know that when it was originally written into the law, and when Texas kind of cleaned that up, really in 1979 was really one of the big laws that they put in place for that the idea is that it was meant to keep it local. The problem is that now you take 2010 property taxes were right around generated about 41 billion. Just 10 years later, it's increased by 50%. It's up at $60 billion. It's kind of a political football to kind of move those monies around. I would be amazed if they actually stayed within the municipalities and the areas that you were in. I hope that is the case, but that'd be very interesting to find that out.
Okay.
Well, and let me have my 2 cents on that.
Go for three. Go for three.
Go for three. Go for a whole nickel, Tom. Come on. It's crazy. It's Wednesday. My understanding, and I've had the state comptroller talk with their Chamber of Commerce before, and that every dime we pay in taxes goes through our state comptroller. Every dime. And it's redistributed back to every school or project or state agency or city as far as the money goes, but they control the purse string. So I pretty much know that, I believe, for a fact.
I think Tom's right. I looked it up while you guys were talking, and it says that more than half of state tax revenues fund education and healthcare. So it says that K through 12 gets 26%, medical and children health insurance 17%, higher education 15%, transportation 6%, public assistance 1%, corrections 5%, and everybody else vies for the remaining 32%. So I think Tom hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah, they control that purse strings, and since I've been in charge of a $150 million budget before for a school district, I pretty much know how that money flows.
You're still there, aren't you?
No, there was an election in November that actually created some problems for me.
Oh.
We had more than 20,000 people vote in an election where we've never seen more than 2,600 to vote ever. That's why you have your school board elections in May versus a general election. The people, when they get to the 32nd spot on the ballot, usually pick according to the person that's located, as far as not knowing who it is. They'll pick according to the number in which they're located on the ballot instead of for a person like they do in local elections during May. That's statistically speaking. I don't know much, but anyway, that's my excuse for now.
Well, okay. So we're going to see a change. We're seeing a shift. It's already stated that commercial property owners, the declining of businesses, malls, they're going to pay less this coming year. That shift is coming more and more to the residential owner. So how does somebody handle this tax burden? Because it's going to increase. The value of their property is going to increase. What does that entail? And what can they do about it, if anything?
And Blair, so our listeners understand that that is coming from the fact that the commercial folks are seeing a decrease in their valuations, right? I mean, that's where it's driving from. Okay.
Well, I mean, you're seeing a decline in actual commercial properties and in contracts building. They're fallen. The market value on homes has increased. So,
if I had a strip center last year, I know I made a lot less income off that strip center than I did the previous year.
Yep.
And they use that income approach to establish the value in the commercial world. So, okay.
And a lot more places are probably going to close. I mean, I've seen a lot of restaurants close here lately.
Well, hotels, I mean, they took it on the chin and the short.
They took it on the chin big time. You're exactly right. So the shift from COVID, the property tax burden to homeowners is going to increase. I got to believe across the board, unless you're lucky enough to be a 100% disabled veteran, this should concern you.
Absolutely. And I would agree 100% on that. You take a look at, if you take per capita, I think Texas ranks 13th in the country as far as property taxes as the highest per capita. If you go to, per average income as far as percentage of income, I think we get in the top 10. I believe it's number 6 or number 7 that we're currently ranked. So in 2005, we hit a high of where property taxes were 4.4% of somebody's income. And so the interesting thing is, in our current tax system, it's very progressive, as it's meant to be that the higher earners pay more taxes. We can argue whether or not that's right or not. What's interesting is everybody pretty much agrees that property taxes are actually regressive. So the lower income people are paying a higher percentage of their income on per dollar of property tax. So you're going to really see it impact the lower income communities, which they're already struggling with, the school financing and everything else. So I think it's really going to compound that issue. And what's interesting is I don't know about you guys, but if property taxes have gone up 50% in the last 10 years, have any of you guys gotten a 50% raise in the last 10 years? I don't see my clients getting a 50% raise in their income over the last 10 years. And so it's going to create that wealth gap and that disparity even more so. Unfortunately, I happen to believe that property taxes are just wrong in general, because one of the things that every American aspires, that owning your own home, that's an illusion, because nobody actually ever owns their house or their land.
Especially in Texas. Especially in Texas.
Explain that,
please.
So, you pay off your mortgage, you've hit retirement, and you're sitting there going, great, I don't owe the bank anymore. This house is mine. Try not paying the state of Texas your property taxes, and see how long you get to keep your house. So it becomes a financial burden into perpetuity. Now you can delay your property taxes. You can get some exemptions and things like that, but that tax bill is going to come due. So the sad thing is you never are actually going to ever own any of your land or your property free and clear without the government dipping into your pocket. Unfortunately, that's just kind of, it's been that way since the beginning of the founding of the country, when they were doing 13 colonies. They were assessing property taxes. Income tax wasn't created until I think the 1920s or late 19-teens, but property tax has been in existence pretty much from the beginning. So one of the things that I see people when they're getting into retirement and they're doing their budgeting, one of the things they most often forget is their property taxes. And nobody has thought to think that property taxes have gone up the way they have because of the house value. Your house is going up in value does not do you any good unless you sell it. So if you weren't planning on selling your house, it doesn't do you any good if your house goes
Alan.
up $1 million. All it means you're paying taxes. Now you need to find a great
Alan.
realtor to help you. That's right.
Alan.
You need to find a great realtor and help you be able to either downsize or do something like that. But it is interesting that is for retirees.
The other side of that, though, I think too, is there is something to be said for not having any debt. So you do have debt and property tax if you own your home, of course, but there is something to be said about not being leveraged to your, chin on debt.
Oh, absolutely.
So owning your home has some benefits, but I agree with you. You don't get the money till you sell, and in real estate, you make your money on the buy. You just get it when you sell. So that's in general some real stuff there.
Yeah, I think real estate's one of the best investments out there, and people who utilize it right is definitely a smart way to go. It is those who are retirees who are planning to not move, or this is the house they want to retire in. Sometimes that can create a larger financial burden than they were expecting. If only I knew somebody that did reverse mortgages or something like that, because I've heard that those would help in that situation. Oh, hey, there we go.
Hey, David, help our listening audience know what you do.
All right. So, so I own my own wealth management company. I do financial planning and wealth management for individuals and businesses. Most of my business is centered around business owners, executive retirement plans, corporate retirement plans, and that nature. Just going with the stuff that we're talking about. Of all the taxes that are out there, there are lots of things that are built into the tax code and to the laws to help avoid paying a lot of these taxes. This is why you have, billionaires that are paying 15% tax rates. So trying to take advantage of some of those opportunities is, I probably say is what I probably spend 50% of my time on with my business owner clients.
So that's really why I'm so glad you're here to talk about this, because again, I think we said 98% of Americans, this is the largest purchase they'll ever make. Some of us are very proud that we have paid off our home, that we have, but as you brought up, this is a continuing burden here in Texas that will challenge people. And so I want to move to what can people do about this, and how can they make it the most effective manner in saving money? Because just because my home created a little more value, why am I getting an increase in taxes? Is there a limit to what they can increase it? And first off, how is the process that somebody assumes my home is increased, therefore I'm getting a larger tax burden? How does this happen? So whoever, Tom or David or somebody, can you go through how the appraisal district just says, oh, your home is worth this, and what's that process from there on?
Tom, I'll let you tackle this one.
Okay. Well, simply put, you get notified prior to May 15th of every year about what your assessed value is going to be on your house, which gives you an opportunity to go and argue that. This year I argued it, and they took $4,000 off my value. So I will tell you, every taxing authority, it seems like, and every time I go in to appeal what my appraised value is assessed at by the taxing authority where the property is located, every time I go in, the people that are there will normally give me a break for that year for my time for having come in. Now, $4,000 seems like a drop in the bucket, but that was $100 I didn't have to pay to this year. So I'm okay with that.
Well, I want to bring some view for our listeners to this. First off, the appraisal district takes, let's say, 1,000 homes, and they paintbrush across the board. All 1,000 homes get which is the max increase that here in Texas is 10%. And I got to believe they're going to do that coming up in the next year dramatically. But they make this 10% increase or 5% increase on every home of those 1,000. Do you realize two key things? One, less than 8% of the people ever challenge, like Tom, challenge those tax. Less than 8%. So 1,000 homes is only going to be a small quantity of challenges. So hey, give Tom the break. He came in, he took the time. Hey, let's do it. But those other people that did not take the time, did not go through the process, guess what? They're paying a higher value no matter what. I've challenged mine every year, and I've received a discount every year off of the evaluation.
Right.
And it's online. You're able to do it. I've gone in and actually, but here's the other thing for those aging folks that may not know what you can do, especially when money gets tight. Now, David mentioned this, and it is not, it's a perceived benefit. It's kind of like a reverse mortgage to your taxes. But at the age of 65 here in Texas, it is legal for you to go through a deferment collection and never pay taxes on until you sell your home or die. That is something you can do, that your cost of living can be controlled. You don't pay property tax, but it will be added on when the home is sold to your heirs.
And I believe they do charge us interest on that, albeit not a huge interest. Is that correct? Do you know?
David may know. I did not.
Dang it, Tom! You took my question, because that was the first question that popped into my head. Was going, if it's an interest-free, if it's an interest-free loan, I would take that every day of the week. I imagine, I've never seen the government being giving away money, so I would imagine
wait a
that they
minute.
would.
Where do you know the Fed?
Alan,
Fed.
They're giving away your money, not their money.
Yeah, you're right, Tom. Alan is.
Yeah, I would assume that they would charge some interest rate, kind of like the IRS does on unpaid.
All right, here's the answer. It says Texas law permits homeowners who are 65 or older or disabled to defer payment of current property tax on a person's residence homestead until he or she no longer occupies. Property taxes continue to accrue during the deferral period and are assessed an interest rate at 5% a year.
That's okay.
Once over 65 or disability deferral has been granted, additional charges cannot be levied for the delinquent, penalty, and interest.
Right.
So
yeah, it's like a 5% loan against.
So basically, they're saying it's just a postponement.
Right. Hey Blair, can I get a 5%, better than a 5% interest rate on a mortgage right now? That would be cheaper to pay my property taxes with than doing the deferment.
Yes.
Exactly. So that right there, just that 5% makes it a kind of a losing proposition in today's interest rates.
But again, I think so many people, I'm still stuck at not that, but that only 8% challenge the value of their home. They just accept it and go on. 92% of the people are like sheeple, let's call them, that are just led, and they don't challenge. And I want to go down the road on how do we challenge those taxes, because people don't know.
Yeah.
People don't understand.
I will say, I will say, I have talked to a lot. I've challenged my property taxes every year. It's been definitely financially beneficial for me to do that. Though I have found that when I have told other people to challenge their property taxes, that I should have clarified a little bit, because there's two ways to challenge it. There's where you go to the assessors during May and you're actually talking to one of the appraisers, you bring in data, you pull it up and do that. The other way you can challenge it is you actually go before the board, and I believe there's 5 people there, and you do it there. I have not had anybody give me positive feedback from challenging it through the board, but everybody I know I was gonna say, you might be the one. I've always had way better luck of challenging it with the assessors beforehand, because they're a lot more amicable. And once again, as long as you have good data, which all you need is a really good realtor that can help you, get that information, then exactly. Then you can make that logical argument and win that every time. So I definitely recommend people go in May and challenge it with the assessors as opposed to doing it before the board, because it's, at least from my experience and the experience of my clients, it's been a much more successful route to go.
The assessors to me have always been more personable. They're real people.
Absolutely.
And I think that makes a difference in your inflections and how you handle them professionally makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Whereas the board, next,
right.
So.
Well, here's something that I have done that I don't know if you agree, disagree, but this is how I have challenged online as well as in front of the board. there's not a home out there that doesn't need work on it, right? There, you own a home outright, you still have a fence to repair or paint or something has to be updated, so forth. I literally just take pictures and annotate, hey, pool repair, estimated cost X dollars, fence repair, X. These things have to take place. Each year, there's something that has to be done. And so these challenges I have taken before them, not only any realtor or relationship that I bring around other property values, but every time I have something to repair, my garage door failing, whatever it may be, that ends up helping me to lower my value of my home as is. And so in front of the board or even online, if you having pictures and a write-up of it under each one and an explanation, this is the repair work I'm having to do. This is what I'm going to be doing. I mean, this year, coming year is the big one is windows. $12,000 in windows are going in September. But you make them aware of these repairs and these works, these values. And that has always helped me. Now, Tom, I don't know how you do it, but that's how I do it. Would you add anything different to that, Tom?
Well, again, the data that you're using to show on any type of appeal that you're making, it's very good to use the same source they use, which is the multiple listing service. So I'm grateful that I have, friends and access to the multiple listing service through those, of course, thousands of realtors I teach. So I cheat.
And Alan.
And I don't try to put it all on Alan. Alan does enough for me already. But with regards to that data, to have some accurate data, David made the point, I think, just real well, that if you go in and you've got good data, you've got a chance to do it. I will say this. One of the things, because I do own multiple properties across multiple counties, I have employed somebody that will actually appeal that every year for me on those other properties. And they normally will do that for about 25% of whatever they're going to reduce my taxes. So if they reduce my taxes by $1,000, I would pay them $250 as a piece of that pie. So when you have multiple properties, it's even more important, I think, to go out and appeal.
So there's somebody to do that on a contingency basis.
There's more than one company that will do that.
Well, there's a million mailers that go out every year to every homeowner.
Right around April or March, right?
Yeah,
Right.
It's like if we don't get you a break on your taxes, you owe us nothing.
They don't charge you anything.
Yeah,
Right.
so
And that's true too.
The problem for a lot of the people that, they might not have the money to pay the 25%.
Yeah, but again, the fact is that if I don't, that's a good point. But if they don't get me any savings and I can see it on paper, I don't owe them anything. So,
Right. But I'm just saying, it's like with a lot of things, the people that don't make money and they're just barely getting by, they're in a lot of debt. I'm sure David sees that too. People, he's getting them out of debt and on the road to recovery. They're the ones that hurt the worst during this bad inflation we got going on. Gas going up, groceries going up, property taxes going up. Well,
yeah, but look at their stock accounts. Their stock accounts have doubled because of David.
I
They
know
don't have those people don't have stock accounts.
I'm talking about the majority of Americans, 80% of which don't even have 20,000 in the bank.
Yeah, I know.
So
Yep.
I know what
they're
you're
the
saying.
ones that are hurting right now. And that's and if they do get one of those mailers and they win, then they owe that company some money.
Well, and some of the other things that you can simply do is look on that, and it's green, isn't it right, Tom, that gets mailed out from the appraisal district? Everybody gets something. I think it's in a green form.
Mine's white.
White.
Yeah, it's beige in Dallas County.
Okay, well, one of the biggest things that I think we have found, or at least that I understand it, is accuracy on that document. The size of the square foot on your home is it accurate? Is it not? The number of bedrooms, is that accurate? Any improvements that you have or not have? I mean, you might have some improvements on there that's really not there. So you want to be able to go through that document and at least agree with that, first off. Everybody can review that, even if you just trash it once you agree or disagree. But that's immediate, something that you can do when you receive that? Does the record actually record what your home is? And that just takes a little bit of time. So I want to highly recommend that is something anybody can do. You don't need a company. You don't need any contingency. That is something basically you can do. And I think most county appraisal districts have an online challenge process. Is that correct? Are there any CADs that don't?
I can't imagine there are. I mean, I think everybody's got the ability to online it, and they probably have to due to handicap and things like that going on in this world.
Well,
So
with COVID happening last year and any challenge there, it had to be. So,
I'll just caution the people out there not to make the same mistake I did when I challenged this year. I didn't realize why I didn't win until I got home and looked in the mirror and I had a shirt on that said taxation without representation. And it just didn't help my cause at all.
I am so shocked by that. This is my surprise face.
yeah.
So be careful, folks. Dress nice. Wear a tie.
I will say to add on what Blair said, because I've always done both. I take in the repairs that need to be done as well as the data. I've also always brought in a couple of like bankruptcy ones that are ridiculously low that they would never use. And I always say, hey, I asked my realtor to send me some comps, and I kind of go in there and I go, oh, these aren't realistic. So I didn't even use these numbers. I used these. And they've always been like, oh, okay, you're not trying to get the lowest number. You're just trying to be fair. And I've always had a good response to that. If people do buy a house that's been either, and I'll say it like for remodeled, they need to be aware that there's going to be a huge jump in their taxes and kind of prepare for that. For example, I just bought a house that was remodeled in December. The value of the house went up $250,000, $300,000 on the tax assessment. I then went in and said, oh, hey, by the way, like, I wish there was more good contractors, but there's a lot of bad ones, and go, hey, here's all the stuff that was wrong that I am now having to redo. And basically they brought that back down. So, when they go to assess it and they see that there was a permit and there was stuff that was done, automatically you're getting the creme de la creme of opinions that it was perfect. It's pristine. It is marble cased in gold. And you sometimes just have to go back and tell them, okay, hey, this wall is crooked. Yeah, they didn't do this right, or whatever the case may be is. And that will definitely help you, like Blair said.
They replaced the yard with weeds. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Or AstroTurf.
Yep.
Oh, guys, I think this is so important, and I think so many people are not going to be made aware of, or there's going to be a shock, I think, come next year. I really believe that with the way the market's gone, what I think the appraisal districts are going to do. I think they're going to do a broad brush sweep of everything. I've even seen them do a larger than 10% increase, and that's automatic. That's against the law, but you can challenge that. And that will immediately decrease that increase. So I guess I just want to try to encourage our listening audience, anyone that's listening in, be aware of these things so that you can protect yourself as well as be prepared for this sticker shock that is coming. I mean, everybody I think on here agrees there's going to be some sticker shock to everyone's home. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
I can't wait.
Definitely. I'll also say that I've also seen some new home buyers. They didn't even know what a homestead exemption was. So I've met with people that lived in a house for 3 or 4 years, and when I go through their whole financials and I'm asking about their homestead exemption, that's always one thing I check. I'm still surprised and shocked that you have people that don't even know about getting the 20% discount on the homestead exemption. So I would say, if listeners are not sure if they've ever filed that or if that was filed, they need to go pull up their tax assessment and see if they have their homestead exemption on there.
Well, yeah, I deal a lot with first-time home buyers, and it's always a conversation that's had. We talk about it, and at some point somebody has to do what they have to do. They have to make a move. They have to get a hold of the county, and they have to do their part. So I also find a lot of seniors that don't know about the senior exemptions. And so
The
that
additional
happens.
exemptions, that's right.
Yeah,
They can freeze their rate and their amount once they reach that certain age. And I believe that's 62, is it not?
I thought it was 65, but David could clear that up. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's 65 as well, but there is something for
65?
62. It is 65.
Okay.
There is something earlier. I don't know if it's the disability or blindness one that I think that's at any time, but I'd definitely go back and look. There was something on 62, and I don't know if they got rid of that a couple years ago, because way back in the day, I remember around 2004, 2005, I had a couple clients that were not 65 that had something like that, and I don't remember exactly what that is.
David, do you deal with Social Security with your clients?
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah. That has been a changing landscape over the last 8 years,
Okay.
where the rules have been completely
And
shifted around.
That's 62 years old, if I remember right.
That is correct.
That
Well,
starts. Okay.
Yeah. That's when, or you can take early retirement on it.
Right.
Do you deal with Medicare?
No, I do not. I have somebody that is an expert in that area. I do not deal with that.
Good.
Well, I want to go back to something that you said.
Oh, I need, Blair, I'm sorry. I just want to dovetail with what you're talking about. The legislature does have in front of it right now a proposal to the law that would allow people to take their homestead exemption if they buy a new home in the year in which they buy it, rather than waiting until the next year.
The January.
But just to make you aware, it has not passed, and but it is out there sitting as a proposal currently, just so you know. So I thought our listeners might want to stay apprised of that, because if it were to pass, then the Texas legislature will meet this year at some point. When they finally do, that will be something in front of them that.
And I can pre-approve you, and Alan can buy it for you.
There you go.
Hey, I want to make sure people understand what you were talking about, an exemption, because most people don't understand. Your primary home, you receive an exemption here in Texas, but you have to file for it. And if you don't file for it, you don't ask for it, you don't receive it. And normal filings take place in October through December. Is that correct, guys?
That is correct. It's towards the end of the year for the next year. And the only current rule is you have to have been living there January 1st. Obviously, if they change that rule, that'd be very interesting.
So that's
only for new homes.
It's only for new purchases.
Okay.
New homes, new home purchases.
Yes.
Oh, what now?
If the house is brand new, Alan sells a bunch of these new homes and new home subdivisions. You can't take that exemption until January the following year.
Yeah,
that's right.
The legislation is that you could take the exemption once you own
we
it.
were just talking about the exemption itself, what it's for, and why. So,
but on existing homes, that doesn't.
I understand.
Okay.
Right. And usually in that situation, the existing homestead is still going to carry for that previous year. So it's not going to matter unless you happen to be buying somebody's investment property, which then you wouldn't have that homestead in the year that you bought the house.
That is correct. So this is something you need to double check. The tax records, are they accurate? Have you done your home exemption? These are sorts of things that can help you out. And unfortunately, I'm going to say in excess of 80% of the people aren't aware of this. They just pay this bill, move on with their life, and they don't understand that they need to help manage it. And I think next year is going to be a shocker, a sticker shock for a lot of folks. I really do. I think this is a great educational show that I hope people look at, refer to, like it, share it. But let's make people more and more aware here. And for veterans, yes, you get a disability discount. Take it. No matter what disability rating, there is a level in every county that you receive some partial. And those for 100% disabled vets, apply for your total discount. You do not pay any property tax in Texas for your home at 100% disability. So please be active in that. It is a huge savings to you here in Texas.
So Blair, what you were talking about, if that's, so if that happens and they raise the average home 10%, the value of it, that's going to be $1,000 tax bill increase for the average homeowner.
Wow. I think $250 is worth it, Tom. Let's talk about that name of that company. I had no idea it'd be an average of 1,000 increase. That's
I just ran the numbers on that. So then you go back to people are like, I'm too busy. Well, it at most would take you 2 hours to challenge your property taxes. That's $500 an hour. That's a pretty good pay for your time.
I totally agree. Totally agree. That's why we have you here. That's awesome. I just think this is so important, and that so many people, I think the people that are barely getting by now with this increase in property tax could force some major financial issues like losing your home, selling your home, being aware, downsizing. So plus helping out the elderly that are, as you put it, you never totally own your home. You're always paying on it here in Texas. And I had not fully understood that, but I understand that now.
Seems like it'd be a good opportunity to talk to your mortgage person, AKA Blair, and look at, refinancing, possibly taking cash out at historic low interest rates and making sure you have good cash flow and consolidated any high debts to be able to offset that increase. Yep. At least get some benefit for your house going up in value until you're ready to sell it.
Yeah, because we have no idea how long these rates are going to last. The way inflation's going right now, and the Fed has got to start tapering off their purchasing, rates are going to climb. I just don't see that how long that's going to last. So, well, guys, any other final comments? Great time, great show, very informative. Anything else that we want to cover?
Well, the only thing I was thinking while you guys were talking about all that is just how politicians politic. None of them are comfortable raising income taxes, but they're all comfortable with the property tax thing. So that's their out. It's been their out since I was a little kid learning how to be an adult. That is never going to change. And, our property taxes here in Texas are going to continue to go up.
Wait a minute. It never changed. So you never learned to be an adult? Is that what you're trying to say?
He's saying he's still a child.
That's what I thought.
That's what I was hearing. Really? That's a great comment.
I'm right there with you. I'm a Toys R Us kid. So
it's good to be young at heart. Young at heart. Right. There you go. I love that.
Well, I'm glad as long as you understood something of what I said, that's all that matters.
Hey, David, share with them if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So best way they can actually go to my website, which is www.talents, TALENTS, WM for wealthmanagement.com. They can set an appointment with me there, email me there. If they have just questions in general, happy to help in any way possible.
Well, we sure do appreciate you being on the show. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy, and I appreciate the time. And guys, thanks. It's great seeing y'all. My name's Blair Thomas.
And I'm Tom Holm.
I'm Alan Pace.
God bless. Have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Stay right there, David.